Okay, all right. Stop moving your chairs around. Time to get things started here. All I can hear is like, hi. Welcome to Cafe Lena Poetry Night. My name's Carol Grazer. I'm going to be your host for the evening. And I'm not impressed with your applause so far, so I'd like to hear more from you. Let's say, Cafe Lena Poetry Night. Yay! We have a really nice group of people here. We have a long, nice list of open mic people. And we have the wonderful Jackie Craven with her newest collection to read with us for tonight. Yep, there we go. I'm going to start with a poem by Major Jackson, and then we will have Jackie Craven grace us with her readings. I'm just going to find Jackie's bio, which I just had a second ago. So, you know what? I'm fine. All right, this is a poem by Major Jackson called Double View of the Adirondacks as reflected over Lake Champlain from Waterfront Park. The mountains are at their theater again, each ridge practicing an oration of scale and crest, and the sails performing glides across the lake, complained for being outshadowed despite their gracious bows. 13 years in this state, what hasn't occurred? A cyclone in my spirit led to divorce. 4 books gave darkness an echo of control, my slurred hand finding steadiness by the prop of a page. And God, my children whom I scarred, pray they forgive. My crimes felt mountainous, yet perspective came with distance. And like those peaks, once keening beneath biting ice, then felt resurrection and a vestige of water, unfrozen, cascading, and adding to the lake's depth. Such have I come to gauge my own screaming. The masts tip so far they appear to capsize, keeling over where every father is a boat on water. The wakes carry the memory of battles, and the Adirondacks hold their measure. I am a tributary of something greater. Yeah, I love that last line. So Jackie Craven's newest book is called Wish. And she writes poetry and prose steeped in magical realism. Her previous books are Secret Formulas and Techniques of the Masters. She has a couple of wonderful chapbooks out there also. Our Lives Became Unmanageable, I think, was the first book that she of fiction that she had published. She's also published a book of design, like an illustrated book of design. She holds a Doctor of Arts from the English department at Albany and lives in Schenectady, where she hosts a longstanding open mic for writers on Zoom, so talk to her about that. And I'm just going to read a quick part of a blurb from the back here. These experimental prose poems and hybrid pieces obsess about the ephemeral nature of time, a Kafkaesque portrait of existence, surreal and strange like Dali's melting clocks. Let's welcome Jackie Craven.
Thank you, Carol. Happy New Year, everyone. I didn't even know it was Rosh Hashanah creeping up on me until a week ago. So my brain's somewhere in March. But that's the way time is, right? It just kind of slithers around, and it you can't be trusted. So a lot of the poems in Wish are about how slippery time is. They're mostly set in Schenectady, which is already a strange place, right? It's the home of General Electric. You've got Thomas Edison. It's a city that lights the world. It's the electric city. But the Schenectady in this book is even stranger. I'm imagining time every second, minute, hour as living creatures. Each moment, a living creature and they mess with our lives. Clocks can't be trusted in the electric city. Imposters stand on every corner, round faces mounted on bronze poles and stone facades. One announces 7:59, another some other time, gonging, with such brass authority that 8 a.m. shivers and considers turning back. Between Erie Boulevard and Knott Terrace, 1,000 moments, each false as a department store Santa. Cars wish by, delivery trucks, and the Crosstown Express. Groggy passengers gaze through frosted windows. The driver blinks at his watch, which claims to be 8:32. The bus blurs past the transit stop, the forgotten hour waits, smelling of coffee and lavender shampoo. So I'm really a Trekkie. I like Star Trek. I like sci-fi. And there are some Star Trek references here, but if you're not a Star Trek person, that's okay. It's not required that you recognize the Star Trek references, but here they are. Federation agents ask whether I've ever been married, and I have, but only a little bit. So brief, it's easy to dismiss, like when you drop a blueberry and quickly snatch it up. Such a silly slip-up, blink and you'd miss it. Yet there's my married name, a tumble of P's and W's cascading from Deep Space Nine. It was the price of anchovies that messed us up. Karaoke and pickleball, the in-laws messed us up. Testosterone messed us up. Wormholes, casualty loops, and the war. Everywhere garden pests and tesseracts. And why hold on to a floppy wedding veil? I gave the gown to a civic playhouse. Thought I'd moved on. But now investigators from the Temporal Integrity Commission demand a name I almost forgot, and that dress, that ridiculous charmeuse dress, steps center stage, a walking shadow reciting Shakespeare. What's done cannot be undone. Oh my goodness, I'm wading barefoot in blueberries. So small, so indelible. Okay. Half past yesterday has abandoned me. I sulk in the rain-slicked plaza outside the computer repair shop, and the delinquent hour doesn't come. Wind grips my umbrella, sleet stings my face. Half past yesterday doesn't call, email, or text. Telephone wires sag with crows too sodden to fly. The fleeting moment flies off to some island where mollusk shells lay thick as peanut brittle. Pining for noon, always pining for noon. I slog through puddles, a statue learning to walk. And, this next poem is R-rated, okay? There's a couple of four-letter words, but you can just cover your ears. I'm learning to bake curses the way my mother did, with goddams and holy shits. Her recipe book lists 15 steps, and she's added 3 more. Her instructions scrawled on pages brittle as phyllo dough. I trace my fingers over every fuck and try to understand the significance of simmer on low. I've heard that if you heat a kettle gently, a dickhead can't feel the water boil. But what to do about the grumble from the dining room, the hungry command to hurry up. Nothing my mother served could please my father, who poured Tabasco into a slow-cooked splooge and called her a stupid cow. I lean against the round shoulders of the old refrigerator and listen to her murmur. In this scene, I'm grown and married, and I need to know when to whisk, when to fold, and when to toss with newts and toads. Okay. Most of the poems in this book are sheer fantasy. You know, I have minutes and hours acting as surreal characters. But I'll read one that's actually very autobiographical. This really happened. I even have a witness here. I escaped to Captiva Island only to be pinged by the girl who stole my husband 20 years ago. She wants to apologize for anguish I no longer feel, and she's sorry to inform he's passed on. What difference does this make now? I watch the sunrise, I kick off my sandals and wade into the tide. Tourists arrive, but no one swims in the serene water. Silent and swaying, they glide past me on the beach and scoop scallops and baby ears with little plastic nets from the souvenir shop on Periwinkle. I do not have a net. I could not keep him. Her eyes were Velcro. Her voice spun webs. My footsteps crunch over dark exoskeletons of dead things from the sea. On a pebbled shore below the causeway, a fisherman struggles with a snowy egret, a splot of red on white. The egret hooked on his line. My shoulder blades hurt where wings should sprout. Do I help the fisherman release the bird? Do I forgive my husband's widow? Every piece of me wants to crush her skull. You know, I've heard that writers keep writing the same thing over and over again. And as I was writing the poems for Wish, I realized, you know, I've been writing about weird things going on with time for a long, long time. And in Secret Formulas and Techniques of the Masters, which came out like in 2018, there's a couple poems that talk about weirdness with time warps and reincarnation and that sort of thing. So I'll read just a couple poems from this book also. Simulcast. I am my stepfather's son. I am an old woman. Shadows darken his hospital room where, in his dementia, he imagines I am the child who died before my birth. The difference, 9 months. Time enough for me to fly cross-country, one womb to the other, and grow into the Air Force pilot my stepfather sees when he looks at me. Supposing I told my mother, I'm not me, I'm me, but I'm not me. I think she'd carry on painting her paintings, knowing nothing real is solid, but formed from semi-transparent glazes, each layer revealing the layer below. How else to explain why, when she brought home this new father, I recognized his voice, clung to his stories with dizzy adoration? Love is energy. Energy can't be destroyed, only passed along, a secret whispered ear to ear. Look how his television plays 1,000 shows simultaneously. Look how his hands reach to find the channels. The psychic says, in your 394th life, you were a pond. You wanted to be a lake, and you cried yourself to the brim, but the sun, you came back as an estuary, not fresh, not salt, not land, not sea. Crabs tunneled through the mushy parts of you, always the threat of evaporation. You dabbled in many incarnations. Life 1052, a fall, always falling. Life 6893, a canal. It was those locks that did you in. In life 14,659, you managed to become an ocean. You curled your lips at the sun and swallowed Atlantis whole. No one guessed how you dogged the moon or how you suffered the sickening swirl of your perpetual motion. Now you throw yourself up on my shore, thirsty for answers. Seriously? I think you already know why you weep, why you bleed, and why, as you drift to sleep, you hear a steady hiss of steam. Yeah. Thank you. And both my mother and my sister were painters. And my mother actually painted the painting that became the cover of Secret Formulas. And the cover of Wish is a painting by my sister. She'd done it sometime in the 80s. And I didn't think it would be good for a book cover because it's very complex, it's busy. She was a trompe-l'oeil painter and everything was very realistic, but she put them in compositions that appeared abstract. You have to look at the image for a long time to even see what's there. But my editor looked at it and he said, well, my goodness, there's a watch, there's a wistful face, there's some broken eggs. These are all images that are in the book. So he encouraged me to go ahead and use this image as a cover, and I'm so glad I did because she died before the book came out, and I'm grateful to have this cover as a way to honor her amazing, amazing talent. Just for once, I want to witness the going away. I want to catch the moment, cup it in my hands, see it blink like an altar candle. But in this dream, the red line shrieks from the terminal hours before I arrive. Or I reach Port Canaveral after the boatswain's final call. I'm alone on the pier, waving goodbye, waving come back, waving until my watch slides from my wrist and tumbles into the foaming wake. I'm so thirsty. Thirsty the way my father must have been in his hospice bed. I dab his mouth with a moist sponge. I tell him, here I am. I'm right here. And so I am, except I turn to read the clock. I miss the instant he leaves. The Timex watch my mother gave me in high school tisks from the floor of the harbor. Can't you be quicker? Can't you be quicker? And I hear my husband tick. My sister lies on the kitchen floor. I pinch her nose, push air through her lips, yet I don't see her wish out to her garden, midnight dark and flecked with fireflies. I can never move fast enough. 11:59. Remember, hours are living creatures. 11:59. slumps on a stool at the corner cafe, coffee chills in heavy mugs. A couple gazes vacantly at the white-clad waiter who clatters behind the counter. Was there ever a time before now? Will the chipped hands of the wall clock inch past this moment? The bleary window, the empty street, the static air. Salvador Dali might have painted this scene. 11:59 cannot move forward or back, cannot imagine a world beyond the frame. These poems are very sci-fi-ish, but I'd like to toss in science facts. And I'm fascinated that when poets use science facts in poetry, which seems rather like a contradiction. If you're intrigued by the science in poetry, on October 20th at the Schenectady Library, I'll be reading with Barbara Unger and Sarah Giogorsian and Maggie Greaves, all who have written wonderful poems that incorporate science. So we'll be reading together and talking about how we insert science into our work. I'll read just one more poem, and this one, it's a closing poem of Wish, and it references Schrödinger's cat. Aaron Schrödinger was a physicist, and he had a thought experiment. No real animals were harmed. It was just imagining, saying, what if you had a cat, and you put the cat in a box, and nobody can see the cat because it's inside a box. That cat might be assumed to be simultaneously dead and alive. Simultaneously dead and alive, as long as it's in that box where nobody can see it. So that was Schrödinger's thought experiment. I'm speeding the quantum highway, pushing 75, 80. Radio towers lose their grip. Songs flutter from rap to gospel. I wish along the quantum highway. Move so quickly I stand still. I can never move fast enough. I'm speeding on the quantum highway and I'm in a chapel with a small black box tightly clasped to hold cremains that meow and scratch to escape. I'm whooshing over the quantum highway, and the dust that was my mother plumes into stained glass light, or maybe it's my father or my sister, my husband, and so many friends. I carry them in my lungs, under my fingernails, and on the soles of my shoes, track them up carpeted stairs to a room still painted the green shade of blue I loved as a child. I throw back the sheets only to find myself already there. I'm speeding the quantum highway, and I sit beside the bed where I sleep, guarding the door, making sure I don't slip away. So, thank you, everyone. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Jackie Craven. That was fantastic. That was a great reading. Thank you. She's blushing, I can see, even though it's dark. So we're going to